I think on this chapter, it marks another section of Tao Te Ching because this chapter is kind of different from the previous one. So chapter 14 talks about what is Tao. It defines the Tao. So for those of you who does not know what Tao is, this will be an important chapter for you to look into. But this chapter uses a lot of terms. It's very difficult to understand. But I make it simplified for everybody. I hope that after we come through this session, we will have a better understanding of what Tao is. So let's begin. So this chapter 14, the title is Tao Te Ching. So Tao, the first word you already know, it's Tao. And the second word, it's kind of important because it conveys the content of this chapter. So this word is essence, the guiding principle, the main pillar, just like the main pillar in a construction. For our clothing, what is the most important element for our clothing? If men wear shorts, that will be in the collar area, For us, we have the smartphone. So in the smartphone, the most important component will be the chips inside. So everything has its main element, main component. So this chapter is talking about what are the main component of Tao or the characteristic of Tao. This chapter can be divided into 3 sections. This is the intro and body and conclusion. So intro talks about the characteristic of Tao, and body it gives a more definition of Tao. And here comes the conclusion. So let's begin. On this slide, I have to talk about these 3 together. What cannot be seen is called the invisible. What cannot be heard is called the inaudible. What cannot be touched is called the intangible. This is all the characteristic of Tao. It's invisible, inaudible, and intangible. So when we look at this, it's talking about our human senses. So Tao cannot be visible from human eyes, cannot be heard from our ear, and we cannot sense it. This is only talking about human perspective. We are just a human. So basically, Tao is invisible, is inaudible, and intangible. If you want to achieve the level of Buddhahood, you have to make yourself invisible. You have to make yourself inaudible and intangible. So what I meant is that in terms of our cultivation, if we are a piece of paper, on the piece of paper cannot have any stain, cannot have any blemish. Do you have stain and blemish on your paper? If you have any stain or any scratch and any drawing on the paper, that will be considered visible. So your ultimate goal is to make sure that piece of paper is totally blank. There's no stain, no blemish. Now, my question to you is that do you hold any grudges against somebody? If you do, then that will be a stain. Do you have any attachment to something? If you do, then that will be a blemish. What about the karmic debt? Do you owe somebody or somebody owe you? I'm sure we all have karmic debt. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. So in our lifetime, we want to cultivate as much as we can. And then during our spare time, our spare energy, we want to accumulate merits so that we can use those merits to pay off our karmic debt. So that will be the cultivation in this perspective. And what about this part? So if I brag to you, come to look at my car. I have this nice car. I live on a 20-acre orange farm. I have a big house. So I'm bragging to you. So this will not be inaudible. In other words, if I have something, I supposed to keep it silent. So bragging and showing off would not fall into this category. What cannot be touched is called an intangible. So if I brag about my position, my career, I'm in a certain position, and because of this position, I'm able to gain this salary. And with this salary, I can buy some luxury items, then that would be tangible. For cultivation, we want to make ourselves invisible. There's no blemish, no attachment, no clinging, and inaudible, so that we want to keep quiet. If we have any ego or pride, we want to minimize that and do not show off anything that we have in terms of our property. So that will be intangible perspective. So in Sutra, it talks about the similar term. It says not produced nor ceased, not tainted nor can be purified, not deficient nor complete. And because Tao is invisible, inaudible, and intangible, that's why it also comes with all this characteristic too. So all things in this physical realm, which are visible with color, audible with sound, touchable, form, are not the essence of Tao. So here I want to give you a good example from the perspective of peanut. You all have eaten peanuts in your lifetime, right? Some of you maybe put it in the storage, some of you put it in the fridge. Anyway, I want to talk about peanut. So if we would leave the peanut in the storage or in the fridge, nothing is going to happen. It will stay as is. But if we plant it in the ground, what's going to happen? You are going to grow a peanut tree. Nowadays, the scientists are great. They want to do a lot of things artificial. So the scientists can create an artificial peanut that resembles peanut, and it looks the same. It tastes the same. The only difference is that artificial peanut, when you put it on the ground, under the soil, that peanut will not be able to grow because that's an artificial one. So that's the difference between the real peanut and the artificial peanut. So the real peanut, when you put it under the ground, it's going to grow into a peanut tree, but the artificial one is not able to do that. What's the difference? The difference is that the real peanut has the vital sign, the vital sign that enable that peanut to grow. But if you would open up the peanut, you would not be able to see the vital sign. So the question I want to ask you is that which part of peanut will allow you to grow? This is the part in the previous slide talks about it's intangible and it's invisible and it's inaudible. Can we find the vital energy when we open up the peanut? We cannot. What about human? What about human? Oh, by the way, when we talk about a peanut, if we open up the peanut, that vital energy will be gone. So here talking about a human is made out of two parts, this part and this part. So this part, Tao, source, consciousness, and essence, they are all synonyms. We all have this invisible, inaudible, intangible Tao within. But if we will open up a human body, we will not be able to see that invisible, inaudible, and intangible part. Can we? We cannot, right? So that's something that's invisible, inaudible, and intangible. That's the element of Tao, the component of Tao, the characteristic of Tao. So the vital energy in the human is very important. One day, when the peanut starts to grow, that body will no longer call a peanut. That body is no longer needed. It has transformed into another type of physical form. And same thing for us. We have this two parts. And one day when we pass, we will no longer need this body. So our body is covering the Tao inside. The Tao, the invisible part, intangible part, and inaudible part is protected by the body. by the human body. And same thing for the peanut too. The vital energy of the peanut is being protected by the body of the peanut. So this is very important. The reason we study Tao Te Ching or we do cultivation, it's because we believe one day we are going to reach Buddhahood. Right now, we are just in Buddha camp. Right now, we are in we call it the Buddha internship. Our physical body is here to protect our invisible Tao. And that's the purpose of our cultivation. So talking about Buddha, I want to explain to you the etymology of this word, Buddha. So this word is "fo" in Chinese, "fo." So "fo" is made up of two parts. This part is called human. This part it means correction and denial. So this is the picture for "fo." As you can see, this picture is it's made out of a two piece of wood, but the two pieces of wood are crooked. So the rope is necessary to tie these two wood together to make the correction. So this word, it means to align these two pieces of wood, to improve, to strengthen, or to make an adjustment. So this is the original meaning of it. In the modern time, this word is also used for denial or deny. I remember a few years ago, I think it was 7 years ago, I have a braces. So that braces, it's for the correction to make sure the teeth are aligned. Nowadays, a lot of young kids do that. So it's to make an adjustment for our teeth to make sure it's correct or in alignment. To correct is to correct the human form. Human comes with color, this we all know, color, sound, touch. We have our ego, we have our pride, and also the three poisons, the greed, aversion, and ignorance. This word "fo" is to make correction or to deny the human's sensation on everything that's deviate from the Tao. If humans see some color, if it's inappropriate, let's make it invisible. If it's a sound that's not appropriate, then let's make it inaudible. If the touch is irrational, then let's make it intangible. So it's a correction onto the human. And of course, it's also has the meaning of deny too. It's denying the form, denying ourselves. It's called selfless. And this reminds me that in Bible, it has a similar teaching too. Matthew 16:24. If anyone wants to come after me, he must deny himself and take up his own cross and follow me. The next one is the three cannot be fully explained. Thus, they are combined together as one. So here, Lao Tzu is trying to define Tao. The definition of Tao can be defined as invisible, inaudible, and intangible. But these three are not enough because somebody will say, okay, then it's nothing. There's nothing inside. So this verse is very important. Lao Tzu add another sentence after that. Thus, they are combined together as one. So this verse can be paraphrased as that these three are not enough to explain Tao. Thus, the concept of one needs to be added. The three items, it means the first three verses that we were talking about, that we discussed. And this word, 解, it means to examine carefully, to investigate in detail like a detective. So imagine if you are a lawyer, you want to build a case, you have to make sure all the evidence, all the testimony, all the discovery is done, and that all the pre-work is done so that you make sure that your case is built. They also want to find a way to explain Tao, but these three is not enough. Therefore, one must be added. This is what it means here. So here I have it in the math format. So this one, when it combined to one, is equivalent to Tao, but not exactly to Tao, because Tao cannot be defined. Even the word Tao is used as a force. It's involuntary given as its name. Therefore, I put this approximate sign. So let's look at one. Why is one so important to closely define Tao? First of all, one is a metaphor of Tao. One in Chinese is just this single line here, like a straight line. So this straight line is the origin, the beginning. I have to take you to I Ching. Let me take you to the formation of a triagram. Before the formation of the A triagram, it really starts from the beginning of Wuji. So Wuji is total emptiness. Nothing is happening. It's total emptiness, it's total void. And from this Wuji, it gives rise to this one little dot. And from this one little dot, this dot is equivalent to this one. In other words, they are the same. Here I have the term Tai Chi. So some people think that Tai Chi is this symbol here. Actually, Tai Chi is really just this little dot. It's the action right after the Wuji state. So from Tai Chi, it evolved into two symbol. And from this two symbol, it continue on to four symbol. Tai Chi, it means three things. It means the little dot, the two symbol, and the next one, it means four symbol. So let's start from number one here. So the symbol of this line here, which in I Ching, it means Yan, Y-A-N-G. That's the great primal beginning of all that exists, because it's just right after Wuji. Second, it's the state of absolute and infinite potential, because from this little dot, it's the start of the all the creation. From this point on, it goes to the A triagram, and it further produced into the 64 hexagram. Number three, the initial state of the universe is right in the moment of Big Bang. So the Big Bang theories echoes with the I Ching too. Number four, it's the initial singularity. As you can see, there's only one, and from one, it's split into two. So this oneness is very important. It's before the duality happened. From this state, the yin and yang were generated. So this is how important is one in the concept of Tao or Tao Te Ching. Next one, B. One is the starting point of all the numerical accumulation. C. When connecting the two ends of one, and when you wrap it around, it becomes a circle. So that means endless circulation. And D, the one dot, when it's in the form of a shape of yen, Y-A-N-G, with expansion, represent consistency and continuation. It can last forever, last infinitely. So that's this one here. But when you minimize it, it becomes a dot. And with that dot, it can return to Wuji. And the last one, the symbol of yen, Y-A-N-G, can be also written as a straight line. So when we look at it as a straight line, vertically, it prevails all around. So we can think about this as an invisible line that encompasses from earth to heaven, or we can look at it from the underworld to spiritual realm and to heaven. It just extends forever and infinitely. Here is the last two. One, in the simplest form, is the synonym of Tao. Tao has several synonyms. One is a good word to describe it. With the first three verses from this chapter, invisible, inaudible, and intangible. And when these three combine with one, it just gives the concept of Tao more profound meaning, more characteristic, and more mystery to it. And we can look at one from the word Zen perspective. A lot of Westerners, they know about this word. but they don't know what it means. So Zen, in Chinese definition, it means deep meditation. But when you study the character or the formation of this word, you will understand the meaning behind it. So this one can be separated into two parts. The one on the left, it means to show, to demonstrate, or to manifest. The one on the right, it means singular or communion, one or oneness. It shows that during our meditation, everything have to come together as one. But then during that process of come together as one, you have to show you are one. That's where the deep meditation comes in. So I have this picture here. This picture works in Tao. I use this several times. And this one can also use in deep meditation too. When you are in deep meditation, everything will come to this little dot here. And also when we are in the active state, while we are working or when we are talking to friends or when we see something, we want to make sure our eyes, our ear, and our mouth, our nose, our mind, and our hand are in communion with this little dot here. Whenever I see something, I have to ask myself, is this appropriate? If it's not, then I should just let go, or I don't see it at all. And maybe a friend of mine talk to me in gossip, and which I cannot stop, or I hear something that's deviate from Tao. And when I reflect on my own one, I say, well, I'm not going to listen to it, or I listen from 1 year and I let it go right away. In other words, there's no attachment or no clinging. When I speak, I would always check with myself, does this echo with one? If it doesn't, then I shouldn't speak. So here is the picture of the three monkey. We only see whatever is appropriate, and we only hear what's appropriate, and we only speak what we should speak. And this slide is about one from the cultivation perspective. Human is made out of two parts, as I mentioned before, the physical part and the invisible part. A lot of Westerners, they believe that ritual and worship is not part of the cultivation. So I want to say that ritual, worship, bowing, and kneeling are very important on top of the meditation. Most of them, they can accept the idea of chanting mantra. It's good for reach the concept of oneness, or practicing Tao, singing mantra or chanting mantra, listen to holy music, listening to good music or peaceful music with tranquility, and meditation. They agree on this, but they don't really agree on this two parts. Do you believe that we all come from the source of creation? So the source of energy is the big source of existence. So we are all born out of the big source, and that kind of source is within you. So since you are born out of the source, if the source is perfect, therefore the source within you is also perfect too. So we can call this micro or macro energy. So the quality is the same. So another analogy I can tell you is that if we are in a big ocean, if I scoop out a drop of water, does that drop of water have the same content as the big ocean? It does. It's this kind of concept. When from the big source, your source of energy is exactly same as the creation of the source. The quality is the same. And more specifically, that source of energy is within you. It's inside of your heavenly portal, 3-inch behind. So this is the vibrational energy within you. You are in the micro universe. So when we do the ritual, I'm sorry, let me take it back. So do you believe the source? Do you believe the source that creates you? So if you believe the source that creates you, you also have that source. That means you also believe yourself too. So when we go to the temple, when we do the ritual, when we do the worshiping, bowing, and kneeling, we are actually worshiping to the creation of the source. And if you are worshiping to the creation of the source, and since you have the same energy, that worship, that kind of physical form is just to remind ourselves that we are part of that energy. So when we do the ritual, it's the same too. Now let me take you to the actual form of ritual. So in the temple, we have Buddha. Buddha's temple, they all have Buddha. Tao temple have Buddha too. So the Buddha and you come from the same source, because one day, hopefully one day, you will become Buddha and I will become Buddha, but right now we are just in the Buddha camp. So we are worshiping Buddha, but that worshiping is just to remind us that there's already somebody in front of us walking on this path. They already achieved that success. So that Buddha is to remind us the path of cultivation, the path of Tao. Somebody is in front of us and we are behind. It's just to help us to understand so that we can make that digestion, that one day we can follow the path. So when we do the worship, we are actually worshiping to ourselves, our inner Buddha. We are bowing to our inner Buddha. We are kneeling to our inner Buddha. And in the Christian term, we can say that we are praying to our inner angel. All this activity is just to remind us that somebody is already there in front of us. So we just need to catch up. And once we catch up, we will be there. So when we catch up with this physical behavior, it's helping us to achieve the oneness, to achieve the invisible, the inaudible, and the intangible being. And in this chapter, we call it the oneness. These are all the synonyms, the Tao, the essence, the guiding principle, or the true self. Above, it is not brighter. Below, it is not darker. So first of all, I want to explain to you the etymology on this one. Mei. So this word is called Mei. So Mei is made out of two characters. This one on the left, it means sun, that you can see from the picture. So it means sun and brightness, a lot of illumination. And this one on the right is Wei. So as you can see from the picture, there's a tree, and this tree is have abundance of branch and leaves. So this is the meaning that back then that they use, but in the modern time, we use the term not yet or not. But in our purpose for today, we can use both of this. Yeah, so both of this will work on this image here. So now let's look at this. The picture on the right is Mei. In the original form, the sun is underneath. So the sun is under the tree. Can you imagine what's going to happen to that light? The light becomes dull and it becomes dim. This is the literal meaning, right? So there is a huge tree above the sun, and the huge tree covered the brightness of the sun. Or we can say that the huge tree denies the sun. So that's what I say, both this definition will work here. So this is the literal definition. Light is dull, light is dim. It's in obscurity, it's in darkness. And the figurative meaning is, in terms of our wisdom, in terms of our Tao, is ignorant. The wisdom is being hidden, or we call somebody it's foolish. And by the way, all these pictures are taken from this website here. I did some modification. So let's come back to here. So we can explain this sentence with two perspectives. The first perspective is before heaven, and that is in terms of our inner self. inner self is the state that when we are born with a physical body, above us as a human perspective, we always think that the saints and sages are brighter than us. Buddha, angel, they have so much glories. And this is what we think we are. We are the sentient being, we are the human and animal, and we look much darker. And then when we look at animal, they are much darker than us because they have karma. So this verse say that the saints and sages and Buddha and angel, they are not brighter than the human and the animal. And on this category, all the sentient beings are not darker than the saints and sages. In other words, they have the same illumination, same brightness. Now let's look at it from the after heaven perspective, which is the impermanent perspective. Impermanent perspective, it means that something that comes along in our life that we see. There are some people who are in a higher social status than us. Are their inner self more brighter than us? Are they more above than us? No. The people who have more money, does that mean that they are brighter than us? No, they are not. And what about the people who are really poor, the people who live in the different country, the third world country, they live in poverty, and those people who are illiterate, are they darker than us? No. Lao Tzu say it's all the same. It doesn't matter which angle you look at, it's all the same. So in Tao Te Ching chapter 23, Lao Tzu has this saying, for one who follow Tao, one is equivalent to other who also follow Tao. I'm following Tao. Everybody here who is on the Zoom meetup is also following Tao. I'm not higher than you, and you are not higher than me. We have Master here. Master Li is not higher than us. So we are all equivalent to each other. Lao Tzu understands that Tao practitioner or the Tao cultivator in the future generation, somebody will maybe look down on the other. Lao Tzu already told us in chapter 23, hey, we are all equivalent to each other. In Diamond Sutra, it also have this similar perspective. All dharmas are equal. None is superior or inferior. This is called unsurpassed complete enlightenment. It's very close to what we mentioned in the verse here. All dharma are equal. All dharma includes many things. It includes the teaching from Buddhism, Christianity, Muslim, Confucianism, Taoism, or the Tao, and it also includes the phenomenon that happens around us, the weather, the people, all the phenomenon, the animal, the sentient being, all dharma are equal. All phenomena are equal because everything in this physical realm are interdependent origination. One thing exists because the other thing exists. Human exists because there's air around us. If there's no air, we would have died. We exist because of water. Everything support each other. Everything sustain each other. So it's like a web link. So when you understand this concept, we will not have arrogance, because a lot of time when we study so much, we tend to have an arrogant mind. So when we look into this verse, all dharma are equal, we understand that all the phenomena are interdependent origination. Therefore, all things are equal. This is talking about the essence. And then somebody might say, oh, no, nothing is equal. How can it be equal? So when somebody say that, because they are looking at it from the manifestation perspective, they are looking at it from the appearance perspective. But when you look at the essence, everything is equal. So when we understand this, we will not have arrogance, we will not have pride, we will treat animal the same as us. Same thing for other sentient being too. And also the people who cultivate Tao together with us. And the Sutra of Huineng, chapter 2, mentioned about the same thing too. Without enlightenment, Buddhas are just sentient beings. The moment the mind is enlightened, sentient beings are Buddha. So hopefully this will be us, because we are all here studying Tao Te Ching. Our mind are enlightened. Therefore, we are Buddha. To be. And this will be, the first line will be referring to the people who are like the common people. They don't do much, how should I say, they reject the Tao Te Ching sharing. So they will continue to have this spiritual emptiness. Nowadays in the society, there's a lot of people experience spiritual emptiness. I'm sure none of you have this symptom here, and I'm very happy. So to look at this sentence here, I want to give you another background. It's from the Great Learning, line by line interpretation 12. And if you want to look at it further, you can click the link here. And by the way, if you want to look at my sharing after the session, you can private message me and I can send it to you. Such are like honorable person who are well blended with arrogance and unadorned pureness. They are like those who are cutting and fighting, and they are like those who are delicately chasing and grinding. So let's look at this. The yellow part, the first part here is the first stage. This part is the second stage. There's two sentences from carving perspective in cutting wood. We can see that the carpenter or the statue master who do the carving, they have to cut out a block of wood with a general shape. That will be the first stage. The second stage will be this one. So the first stage is the mold that provides the element and the raw material that carve the shape into a mold. The second verse is about the finished product, and that indicates a self-cultivation. We were all giving this mold. We were all giving this big piece of wood. So it's up to us what we want to carve ourselves into. Some people, they decide to continue to be in the shape of mold. In other words, they don't do anything, or they destroy themselves. That's the worst scenario. And I hope that all of us here, we are in the progress of finishing our product. It's a long process of this process, but we are working on our way. I find that these words are important for our Tao cultivation. And I'm sure that most of us are already in this stage. So I want to say congratulations. Here I want to share with you the story of two pieces of wood. There was a busy Buddhist monastery. In other words, there's a lot of people coming in and out to pray every day. And right in front of the Buddhist monastery, there is a bench for people to sit on. And inside the monastery, there is a Buddha's statue. So these two pieces of wood, they come from the same forest. At nighttime, this bench always complain very loud to the wood inside the Buddhist monastery. He say, it's not fair. Why am I just a bench that every time people come to the temple or to the monastery, they use their butt to sit on me? And then sometimes the visitors spill water on me. The kids, sometimes they jump on me. They put all kind of things on me. Nobody come to clean me. And sometimes the kids will kick me. So it's so unfair treatment. But the piece of wood inside the temple or the monastery, he doesn't make any comments. But one day, this piece of wood was so outrageous, he makes such a loud complaint. So finally, the statue make his comment. He say, Do you remember long ago when we were just in the forest and one day a carpenter came? The carpenter took both of us. So the carpenter asked us, I'm going to make you useful for the Buddha's monastery. I'm going to make a bench and a piece of statue. Which one you want it to be? If you want to be a bench, then I can do it very fast. It's just a simple carving, just few cut. And if you want to make a statue, then it's going to take a longer process. There's a lot of cutting, filing, chiseling, carving, grinding, and sanding. So I'll let you choose. The statues say, do you remember that what you told the carpenter? You say that you want to be something very simple. You don't want to endure pain. You want to make it finish very fast. So that's what you are. But as for me, I accept who I am. I accept carpenter's assignment because the carpenter said, in order to make a statue, I need to go through thousands of cutting on each angle, on each side, and the filing and chiseling. And then there is very detailed carving on every body part of mine, on my arms, on my finger, on my clothing, on my legs, on my toe, on my ear, and also on my hair too. And I endure so much painful experience. And then there is numerous thousands of grinding and sanding. And every time when I've been through that, I just endure the pain. It was a few months of work. And for you, just one day of work. For me, I endure a few months of work. That's why I get to be inside of the monastery. People worship me. They respect me. But for you, you are just a piece of wood outside the monastery, which allow people to sit on. You see, in life, imagine when you are that piece of wood. How do you want to be? You want to be that piece of wood outside the monastery, or you want to be that piece of wood inside the monastery? And so let's ask ourselves. Last, continuously and infinitely cannot be named. Return to the realm of non-existence. In the Chinese word, these two words are being repeated. It means continuously. One word, it means rope. And when you have two rope repeat, that means there's rope after another one. It shows that Tao is continuously, it's infinite and cannot be named. So this verse echoes with chapter 1. The Tao cannot be spoken, is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. So that we understand. And here, fu, it means return. So we come from the source of existence. And for some reason, we are here on earth. So now we want to go back to the source. So that makes sense, right? We come from the source. We are taking a journey back home. We are not just here by accident. We are not just here just being born. So everything has the origin. Where is your origin? Your origin is from that source. So let me give you a simpler term. We all have a home. And then when we travel outside for many days, we will live in a hotel. So right now, it's like if we are in a hotel. So if you live in a hotel, would you think that hotel is your home? You will not. You will know that, oh, this is hotel. Eventually, I'm going home. Our earth, the physical residence here is just our hotel. We hope that by the time we take the last breath, we will be able to go home. Now, another scenario is that, say you are born out of blue, and then you are going back to the source. That seems a little difficult to comprehend, because how can you go back to the source if you've never been to the source and you never come from there? That will be like a dangerous adventure, a dangerous journey. It's like asking you to climb the Himalayas. You've never been there, but now you go there. So there's a lot of uncertainty. and there's no purpose. What's the purpose for you to go to a place that you never came from? So that would not call a return journey, right? So here, the next one is the origin. So the origin is the source of existence. So our origin is the source of existence. It's really empty. So empty, in the earlier slide, I talked about empty in the more simpler way. It means no blemish. There's no stain and no shadow. In the previous chapter, I mentioned about shadow. If we are a peaceful lake and there's a bird flying over, and when the bird fly over, there will be a shadow, right? Can you tell the bird not to make any shadow? You cannot. So the bird will fly over, and then you allow the shadow to be in you. And then when the bird is gone, the shadow should be gone too, right? When the bird is gone, will you try to retain that shadow? I hope not, because if you try to retain that shadow, you will have so much blemish, so much stain. Your mind will be full of garbage. So this is like storing a lot of trash in the house. In other words, in our mind, we store so much trash, like our desire, our attachment, our aversion, our hate, the sorrow, anger from long time ago. It's unfortunate that some of us experience some childhood trauma and some come from dysfunctional family. Don't let those memory create a shadow on your leg. So what you do is you try to bring in the positive energy, bring in light in you, because when the light come into your space, the darkness will be gone. So I hope that eventually we can all achieve that emptiness. And because that emptiness is our origin, there's no blemish, no stain, and no shadow on your leg. And here, non-existence. In our origin, it's really non-existence, it's emptiness. Some of you might say, it's impossible because in this physical realm, I have eyes, I can hear, I can feel, and I can see, and I can feel the sensation. How can I go back to emptiness? So the way to do it is that we observe, but be selective, and we have to filter what is to be seen and what is not to be seen. If it's not appropriate, we will just ignore it and not create that shadow in our consciousness. And same thing for hearing. If it's not appropriate, we would not create a shadow in us. So we will just let it go. So by the time when we take our last breath, we will not have much shadow. Here, it's easy to say than done. So at least we want to try to get rid of as much as we can, so to make sure that our piece of paper is as clean as possible. Yeah, so here is a picture of a true self and false self. False self, it's anything that's impermanent, so it's equivalent to our body. The false self comes with a lot of baggage, such as with our vision, we can judge people who is rich and poor, and because of that, we have greed and we suffer, and sometimes we have illusion. And when we have illusion, sometimes create bitterness in our mind. So all this are our blemish, our stain, and our shadow. It is called the form of formless, the existence of non-existence. It is called obscurity. So I break it down into two boxes here. Let's look in the first box, because if you understand the first box, you will understand the second one. So the first box has two terminology. One is formless. The other one is form. So the formless is talking about the invisible, inaudible, and intangible. In other words, they don't have appearance. The second one is talking about existence. Say peanut as an example. Peanut has its formless, which is the vital energy. But this peanut also comes with form. So let me give you another example. A person with Tao, that's all of us. We are like Tao cultivator. We have simple and dull appearance. You can have glamorous appearance too, but a Tao cultivator, we're supposed to have simple and dull appearance. So this is the form. This is the external form. Yet he is virtuous with integrity and character. So this is the formless. Tao has two sides. One is the invisible part, but the invisible part is protected by some kind of body. In human, it's covered by our physical body. In this peanut, it's covered by that peanut. And if you smash it, it becomes two pieces. And then the Tao will be gone. One day, when we become a spirit, we will no longer need the body. This is what it means. Human body, it comes with form, but we have the formless inside. Human body has existence, but we also have the non-existence inside. It is called obscurity because it appears to exist and it also appears to be non-existing. In other words, it cannot be seen clearly. So let's review the previous two verses. Previous two verses, it's very confusing for the common people, the beginner. Confusing for the beginner because of the word that's being used. So Tao is continuously and is infinitely, it's non-existence, form of formless, existence of non-existence, and its obscurity. If nobody explained to them, they would think of this as nonsense. It is nonsense if you look at it from the appearance perspective. But if you study chapter 1, you can know that it's really difficult to study Tao Te Ching because there's a lot of mysterious word being used. Chapter 1, the mystery of mystery is the door to all wonders. Chapter 15 is the next one that we are going to study. The cultivator who follow the ancient principle are subtle, wonderful, profound, and comprehensive. The depth of their wisdom is unfathomable. Tao Te Ching is not easy to study, so it takes some explanation to understand the verse and the paragraph. Upon greeting, one cannot see the front. Upon following, one cannot see the rear. So here I want to explain the first word, in. This word, it means welcome. When you welcome somebody, what would you do? You will welcome them with your back or with your front. You will welcome them facing the other person, right? If you have a dog, we all know how dog greet the owner, right? The dog will face the owner and start barking and barking with joy. So same thing for us, or when we greet somebody, we will do it face to face. Here, you can see that this two person is facing each other, and this person is kneeling down. And I think it's because in the ancient time, they do that. But in the modern time, we no longer need to kneel. We just say hi. On the left, this character here, it just means journey. So journey, it means walking. It will not be like using transportation, no bicycle, no use transportation, no airplane, just walking with 2 feet. So it's somebody walking to greet another with face to face. So that's why here says, upon greeting or upon welcoming, one cannot see the front. So the front, technically, it should be translated as one cannot see the head. but that would be a little weird, the head. Because when you look at the etymology here, this character, it actually means the head. You can see the head of the chimpanzee. So this means head. If we translate as head, sometimes it doesn't make sense. So head and front, it has the same connotation. Here, we can expand the meaning to the front as the beginning and the rear with a connotation of ending. So what does that mean? Tao does not have beginning or end. The source of creation does not have beginning nor end. The source within us does not have beginning nor end. The Tao within you will not end. It already continues since the creation. One day when our body perish, our energy, our vital energy will continue. This is a very important concept of Tao. So when we practice Tao, we should not have beginning nor ending. Sometimes people are angry because, I should say that sometimes Tao practitioners are angry because somebody say something and they couldn't take it. It happens very common in the religious organization. Tao is not just practiced in the Tao temple. It can also be practiced in Buddha's monastery. It can also be practiced in the Christian church. Except they don't call it Tao, they call it the practicing the Christian way, or the Buddhist term, they call it they practicing the Zen. So it's just the same thing. So when we practice our source, when we refine ourselves, we should not have an end. So we should continue in our future life, should not have any intermittence. Now I want to tell you the truth. Here comes the sad part. The sad part is that next time when we come around, our future is not so bright. So this is apart from the I Ching. As you can see, everything must go through the cycle of yin and yang. It goes through the four phases: the creation phase, the growth, the harvest, and the destruction phase. Nothing can escape from the yin and yang circle. The same thing happened to our planet Earth too. Planet Earth. One of the I Ching scholar, Sao Yong, he studied I Ching, and based on his calculation, we are in this timing now. So if you want to study further, I have a slide here, and I also have a YouTube video talking about the harvest time. We already gone through half of the circle. So this half of the circle is the phrase of 子, 丑, 寅, 卯, 辰, 巳, 午. So it starts from 子 to 午. It has already ended. So each segment is 10,800 years. So from 子 to 午 is each segment is 10,800 years times 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if you do the math, 10,800 years times 6, that means 64,800 years has already passed. So this is this half circle. Okay, so now you see that there is the green, the red, and this one here. So let me take you to this one slide here. So now we are between the timing of Wu and Wei. 5,800 years has already passed. The green segment is the green period. 1,500 years has already passed. The red period of 3,000 years has already passed. So now we are in the white period. We are in the white period. Here I mark 500 years. So as you can see, the white area will be lessened. The black area will be increased. So here is the sad news. next time when we are born again, for those of you who received Tao, I want to say congratulations, because hopefully you will be taken to Shida heaven, and hopefully all of us will cultivate well. But in the future, if we are born again, we will most likely to be in this 500 years, and then we will be in here. So some people will say, oh, I don't care about this life. I think life really sucks. This life is sustainable. I gone through so much. I hope the next life will be better. It's not going to be better. The planet Earth will be less inhabitable. If we can, try to do as much as we can in this current life, because the future life does not look pleasant. Okay, so again, if you want to know about this in more detail, I have YouTube and the link here. By holding the ancient way, this can be, look at it as ancient Tao, one can manage the current. So 止, it means to hold and maintain. So this is saying that you have the total control in your hand. We have our control. We can change our destiny. We can change our fate. So it's whatever we want to do. The carving, the chiseling, the refining of your own statue is in your own hand. Next one is ancient time. Since ancient time, there has already been teaching on this term. The Tao is invisible, inaudible, and intangible, and plus one. So since ancient time, there has been scripture talking about the concept of Tao. And this means the same thing as the first one. The power of change your destiny is at your own hand. To manage, to govern, to hold, and to live. How do you want to live your life? How do you want to live your future life? How do you want to manage, and how do you want to carve yourself? Next one. This one is about the current time. So it's in this period of chaos, the illusionary world, the disturbance, the calamity. I don't have to mention to you what kind of calamity we've been through. We all know what that is. So in terms of cultivation, we really have to use the concept of oneness to control our senses, our eyes, our ears, and our tongue. I only list 3, although there's 6 right here. And I say 3 is because we create a lot of karmic debt just using this 3. So let's just focus on this 3. Then the control be whole in our own hand. And that control is that oneness. So when something happened to us, if we are about to get angry, why are we allow other people to hold this remote control to make you angry or to make us angry? The remote control should be whole in our hand. If we can control our own oneness, if we can control our eyes, our ears, our nose, our tongue, then we will have a beautiful statue that we carve for ourselves. By holding the ancient way, one can manage the current. This is actually the ancient time, the ancient teaching. Nothing is new. All this verse is from the Bible. It's very similar verse. It talks about the eyes, the ears, again here in Mark 8:18, Jeremiah 5:21, the Rome 11 and 8. Here it's another one. In Psalm, it talks about the ancient time, the ancient teaching. This really echoes with Lao Tzu's teaching on the inaudible, intangible, and the invisible characteristic of Tao. And lastly, here, Buddha also show in the scripture, Gautama Buddha mentioned that all appearances are illusory. Whoever saw me through forms or through sounds are on deviate path and will not be able to witness Buddha. So here we can translate Buddha as Buddha, but it can also be the inner self. So if you try to see something, if you try to see Tao through the eyes, the ear, and the physical sensation, we will not be able to see, to comprehend our inner self. Able to know the primeval beginning is called the essence of Tao. So the primeval beginning is what Lao Tzu talks about, and it's also, I mentioned that in the previous slide, on the Bible also have the similar teaching too, about the invisible, the inaudible, and the intangible, plus one. So this is really in the ancient way teaching. There's nothing new. This is talking about the inner nature and the original pure consciousness. Here we almost come to an end, and I want to explain to you the etymology of this word, 知. So this 知 is made out of a two character. 知 in English term, it means knowledge. On the left side, it means arrow. On the right side, it means mouth. So this is talking about not just internal knowledge, but when somebody know and be able to share the knowledge, talk about the knowledge like an arrow with precision, with sharpness, without error. So when somebody knows something, it has to be the truth, has to be precision, has to be precise. If it's not precise, that will be false information, right? That will be ignorance. It's an expression of true comprehension of somebody know something, and that can share with other. It's interesting that this is mouth, it's not eyes, because our eyes cannot share, our mouth can share, our ears cannot share, only our mouth can share. Isn't that interesting? So I want to point that out. So knowledge is, we can look at it as the transfer of information through the ears, through the vision, but ultimately we have to share from our mouth. And this entomology picture is taken from this website here. Able to know the primeval beginning is called the essence of Tao. And this can also be seen in Bible Ecclesiastic. What has been is what will be, and what has been done is what will be done. And there is nothing new under the sun. So this verse, it means that what has come before, man has forgotten, and what has not yet to come, it was always there. All knowledge or new knowledge is just our perception. It's just that our memory has forgotten. So when we encounter something new, we think it's new, but it's not actually new. The pathway to lead to our source, it's always there. It's always accessible. It's up to us to seek the path. So the way to return our true self, it's always there. It is written in many scripture. I want to say Bhagavad Gita too. In a lot of Hindu scripture talks about the characteristic of Tao. So everything has been there before. There's nothing new. That's what it means right here. So the teaching of Lao Tzu about the invisible, the intangible, the inaudible, and the concept of one, it's always been there. So here we come to the end of our session. Now, when we look at this chapter, it's not so difficult to understand. So this chapter can be defined as intro and body and conclusion. And these two sections here are just characteristic of Tao. And I hope by this time you understand the concept of Tao. And this is the principle of Tao, the element of Tao, the main pillar of Tao. It's really important. So here I come to the end of my session. My next chapter will be chapter 15, not to overfeel. And I thank your participation. If mistakes were made or said during today's sharing, I ask the forgiveness from the Heavenly Mother, Buddha Maitreya, Qigong Buddha, Sizun Simu, Senior Master Li and Junior Master Li for their forgiveness. Thank you so much.